Hi. I don't know about you, but I'm getting a little bit tired of people who are lucky enough to have jobs criticizing and imposing their fake morality on those who are out of work. First, let me just say something about capitalism. Capitalism is not about job creation. It has nothing to do with job creation. Actually, any good capitalist will tell you that labor, being an input cost, is something that should be minimized. That's one reason why, when you talk about private sector job creation or letting the private sector create jobs, it's kind of silly. What the capitalistic private sector will always try to do is minimize the amount of labor required to perform a certain level of output. In other words, the private sector will always necessarily lean toward job reduction, not job creation. In fact, the only time the private sector will grudgingly create jobs is when firms see orders outstripping their ability to meet those orders due to capital constraints or a distant second, insufficient labor. So when you hear things like businesses are the job creators, that's total BS. The real job creators are the consumers and customers of firms who have the means in hand to purchase the products and services made by those firms. If the private sector is not creating jobs in sufficient quantities, then the reason is that demand from consumers is weak. Pure and simple. It's got nothing to do with giving businesses more tax breaks or moving jobs back from overseas. That last claim is ridiculous anyway. Hey, if you want to move jobs back from overseas, just make sure that domestic consumers have the means to buy all of the domestic output. And there'll be plenty of jobs here. Believe me. That's my first point. Now my second point. I've heard some pretty cruel condemnation of the jobless and otherwise less fortunate recently. From attacks on what they eat, to their right to procreate, to where they should be allowed to live, even to whether or not they should be allowed to vote. These self-righteous jerks who are saying this stuff should just shut up. That's because just because you have a job and pay taxes doesn't give you the right to tell others what you can eat, where you can live, how many kids you can have, what level of education they're entitled to, or anything else. And by the way, your money is not paying for them. You got that? Your money is not paying for them. I know this may be hard for some people to understand because they do write checks to the IRS every April 15th. I know that hurts. Or they see money taken from their hard-earned paychecks every week. But the money taken from you in the form of taxes is not paying for the things the government spends money on. And let's face it, over the majority of our history, the government has run deficits, which means that it spends more into the economy than it takes out. In other words, if you're going to criticize people for being on government subsistence, then you'd better criticize yourself as well. We're all guilty of it because we, the people, are the net recipients of the money the government spends in excess of what it takes away from us in taxes. And by the way, we know exactly what that number is. It's $15.7 trillion. Now here's the part I want all you holier-than-thou jerks to understand. It's you who have been getting most of that subsistence, not the people on unemployment insurance or welfare or food stamps or any other of the programs designed to help the truly needy. That's because most of the breaks in the form of tax cuts or income have gone to you, the 1%. Tax cuts, which the 1% got in spades, were a massive subsidy to you. Income gains in the form of interest on the debt. And by the way, I don't know too many homeless or jobless people who own portfolios of Treasury securities. Well, those income gains went to you too, the 1%. And what about welfare and food stamps and the other programs to help the poor and the needy? Well, they were either cut drastically, as in the case of welfare, or offered on a temporary basis, like the unemployment insurance programs that are ending for millions as I speak. So listen, all you smug idiots, when you start talking about having the right to tell people what they should eat, how many kids they can have, where they can live, and whether or not they can vote, it's you who should have your rights assessed, not the less fortunate. They earn the right to do whatever they want because it is they who are supporting you. You are living off the backs of these people, and it is you who is on the government dole. Listen, the United States is a nation of unparalleled abundance. Go to any landfill and just look at the crap we throw out that's hardly even used. We literally pay farmers not to grow food in order to support crop prices when there are people in this country going hungry. How stupid is that? Millions and millions of people are homeless in our land, even though we have millions and millions of homes sitting vacant. And we're making thousands more homeless every day as banks foreclose on people, all because we can't figure out that our monetary system is just a big spreadsheet. It's shameful. But worst of all is the fact that a bunch of arrogant jerks who are sucking on the teat of the public think they have the right to impose their sick, twisted, and false morality. It's time to turn that around. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for tuning in. This is Mike Norman. See you later. Bye-bye.